Hi there, this is Wendee Lee and Haruhi Suzumiya from the Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya. And if you're an Esper, shapeshifter, or time traveler, then you have what it takes to join the SOS Brigade and be an anime maverick.
From the land of crazy hairstyles and overly ridiculous weapons, it's time for the Anime Mavericks podcast. And now, here they are, your Anime Mavericks.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the Anime Mavericks podcast, the official anime podcast of RVT. We want to thank you guys once again for joining us here this week on The Shades.
I'm Yummy Angie.
I'm Care Crystal.
And I'm your guest Maverick, Mikshel.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Mikshel is back, but we are your Anime Mavericks, and we're here to bring you all the anime news, reviews, and interviews that you crave. And speaking of interviews, oh, I have so been looking forward to this one, ladies and gentlemen. If anyone knows me, they know there's been one VA I've always looked forward to talking to, and tonight, that dream becomes a reality. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our special guest for the evening, Miss Wendee Lee!
Hey, everybody!
Oh, yeah. This seriously, like, I've had a bucket list of VAs that I've wanted to talk to for the longest time, and I will straight up say, number one with a bullet.
Number one with a bullet?
In a good way. In a good way. But, yeah, like, you ask any of these guys, I have been like singing the praises of Haruhi for years. I mean, I'm pretty much a fanboy, I won't lie, but I've been professional. Don't worry.
Awesome.
But the first question I have to ask, because I always start with a nice little fun light question, is if you were like Haruhi and could reshape the world as you see fit. Now, taking away all the obvious stuff like ending world hunger and world peace and all that jazz, because we know we'd all do that stuff. What's the one silly thing you would change?
I would create a danceicle planet, and people would have to dance their way on over to point B to get to point C. So I think I would create a danceicle land.
I love it. I love it. the old.
It's got to make the world a better place.
Well, yeah.
Wait, you mean like a movie Footloose?
There you go.
Sure, I think it's got to be all. I think when people say "walk this way," you have to walk just like them.
Oh, there you go.
You like the musical?
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
And you
Like
get
a
some
short
exercise in.
Anyway, so let's get to the real deal here. So, because you have been a voice actor for a long time, like you've been around since the '80s, for crying out loud, and yet you still sound just as awesome as you did back then. That's, first of all, that is impressive. But like, how has the evolution of the industry been since you started back then?
Oh boy, has it changed. I started out at the tail end of the first wave of the Hollywood core voiceover actors. And I was sort of the new kid, very early 20s. And there was maybe 50 people that worked regularly. And probably out of those 50, there was probably 15 that worked often. And there wasn't that much work, actually, because anime was just starting to become a thing. Carl Masek is really the guy that changed everything for me. If you're familiar with him, thank you for honoring his legacy. And if you aren't, he's somebody to check out. He was an amazing guy that really saw potential in me and brought me, the way it felt as if he plucked me out of the chorus and put me into leading roles. And we did shows together like Ninja Scroll, Naughty of the Blue Water, Vampire Hunter D much later. Gosh, there's so many more titles from that genre, and they're not all coming to me right now, but I started out in an audition observing. I just wanted to come and see what was going on. A friend of mine was a live sound engineer, and when he was in between touring shows and doing arena sound, he would work at a little studio in Hollywood called Intersound. And Intersound's really where the core of all voice acting that we have today, certainly for anime, was generated and grown and developed from that key kind of gang of acting talent. And very soon I found myself involved in Robotech, which was really my first audition. It really wasn't even an audition. Let me circle back. It's the session that I went to observe. My friend Chris Sampson, who was engineering the session, said, you've got all these voices in your head and you're constantly like mocking everybody and doing impression. You should come down and see what we're doing in the studio with this animation and all these dubbing these foreign films into English. And I was like, when can I go? Let's do this. So I thought it was going to be really easy. They had a break in the schedule. They knew I was an actor, and they said, would your friend like to audition? And I never imagined that I would have that opportunity in my very first studio experience for voiceover. I was a singer, and I was used to being in the studio, but not for voiceover. So as it turns out, that was an audition for Robotech. And many weeks later, I found out I was cast as Vanessa Leeds with the big glasses, who was a bridge bunny, and she was terrified all the time. Sir, there's a satellite coming in at 4 o'clock. I think we're going to crash. And the captain was always very soothing. Lisa, Vanessa, it's all right. Calm down. Everything will be fine. It's like, yes, sir. I'm terrified. It's my first part. This is the first ship I've been on. And so it was a great experience. We were both terrified. And I got to observe some really amazing actors at work, and I learned a lot from observing all of that stuff. But that was an analog system. We didn't have a digitized way of recording yet. We didn't have Pro Tools. We didn't have beeps. We had to read the time code, the SMPTE time code that goes across the work print. And SMPTE was invented for NASA, so that NASA's engines and each other, and weren't even computerized yet entirely themselves. So it was a linking system that's been utilized by the recording industry. So now we use all digital systems and equipment, and we have a very fine-tuned machine, and that's why we always work with one person at a time, but it's very much like music. We lay our kind of our bed tracks would be, instead of your bass and drums, we're laying down principal actors or some of the supporting cast, and we build one actor at a time until we have a full cast. And oftentimes you're working opposite nobody and you're responding to their dialogue. But we preview everything in Japanese or whatever the language is, which for me, it's primarily Japanese. And I also, as a director, feel like I can glean the emotional content from something that I hear with a translation. And I understand what they're saying and what they feel and what they're conveying 9 out of 10 times, to the point that my clients often think I can speak the language. So they'll say, I had a Korean friend introduce me to the CEO of the company saying, and Wendee understands Korean fluently. No, I understand the emotional content with the translation. But really, I'm kind of covering a huge arc, but the big difference is the advent of technology. And also getting video games and just enhancing all the opportunities for actors to be employed. So from just a few sessions every month to working constantly every week, it's been a long, beautiful kind of trajectory that's kept me afloat all these years. And I'm still working all the time.
Absolutely. Like looking at your IMDb right now, you've just for voice acting alone over 587 credits.
I heard it was over 6. That was inching its way to 7, but that's excellent.
Again, that's just voice acting. That's not counting your voice direction, your writing, and everything else that you've done along the way. But still, that's still an amazing career between video games, anime, and other voice acting as well. So it's just insane to see someone go that long and still be able to just knock out a voice. Like we heard the plug earlier before as we were starting the show. You could go back and do Haruhi today, and you'd be like, no time passed. That is.
It hasn't even been. How long has it been since we did?
It's been over a decade.
It's been over a decade. Yeah, we find that the voice really changes 15 to 20 years. Those increments, we start to hear a difference. And I certainly can hear it when I go back and listen to my old demos, but I can still place the voice where it needs to be. So it's usually not a problem. If production companies allow us to continue with our roles, I know the fans usually really appreciate that, and we're super grateful when we can. I'd love to do more Haruhi.
Oh, well, there's been rumblings that there might be something coming with the new light novels. Nothing confirmed yet, but I'm crossing my fingers as much as you are, I'm sure.
Yes, it said Aya, the original Japanese Haruhi, is committed. So we'll see. If she's going to be voicing, then I'm her counterpart, so fingers crossed.
Yes, I Hirano-san, yeah, we definitely want to see both you guys back in the studios. But, like, just... Well, you guys got any questions before I continue on? I don't want to hog the spotlight here.
I do.
Okay.
Awesome.
Kira, you go first.
What was it like working with Steve Bloom on project like Cowboy Bebop and later Megas XLR?
Well, Steve Bloom is my favorite leading man. I know he is engaged and taken by Mary Elizabeth, but he'll always be my anime honey. And he and you know, the thing about Spike and Faye is that, you know, there's just all this tension and banter and these slights and digs. And it's like growing up with your brother and continuing to work with your brother, but there's a tension and kind of an attraction. And I think Faye would go for it. Awesome. But every time I get paired up with Steve, I just know we're going to be able to deliver something awesome. We've had many opportunities. The Big O, Expelled from Paradise, the feature film we did a few years ago. What else? GTO. There's been a few others.
Yeah, I was like...
Vegas XLR. Hello.
Yeah, you brought that up. Yeah, can't forget Vegas XLR. But no, I was going to bring up... Oh.
I was just going to say that the creators were inspired by our characters, Faye and Spike, and in creating our characters, Kiva and Jamie for Vegas XLR.
That makes so much sense. But since we brought up Cowboy Bebop, we've got to ask the big question about that, because Cowboy Bebop, of course, is the anime that even most dub haters will say is the one that the one exception to the rule, like the greatest dub of all time. How does it feel to be connected to such a legacy like that?
You know, it's amazing, and it gets honored regularly. We just had a Bebop stop, we call it, whenever we can get the Bebop crew together for the Portland convention. It's my first digital DigiCon, and it was just the coolest experience. Come here, baby. Come here. My kitty wants to say hi.
Kitty.
Here she comes.
We will not deny the kitty.
Tiger Lily.
Hey.
Hug the kitty.
Floof. Gotta love
She's a rescue from the pandemic, and I know many of you rescued pets too, and I think that's so exciting. And of course, Tiger Lily from Peter Pan and Wendee from Peter Pan. Maybe I just need a Tinkerbell now.
I get it.
As I was saying, yeah, anytime Steve and I get to team up, it's really fun.
All right, Mike, you had a question?
Yes. Going back to a series that, what was it like to play a teacher chasing after her own student?
Oh my goodness. I have played some frisky teachers in my day, haven't I?
The series I'm talking about is Mahoromatic.
Okay. There's one that I played a very, on the verge of climaxing constantly teacher. And the thing that I loved about, and I can't remember which show it is, but Liam O'Brien directed me in it, and I had him in stitches so much. I'm going off about a different show. I can't think of the name of it right now, but she would sit in front of the class and like seduce her students and like cross her legs, and her leg would go in the air. So I'd always make it sound like it was, climaxing as her legs would go I have played, I don't know what that is about, but Hot for Teacher has been a theme that I've been cast in a few times. Mahoromatic.
Mikishi.
Yeah. I adapted the first episode of that, and I had my scenes as the teacher, but she was a little more well-behaved, right?
Not really, no.
Pretty frisky, okay.
Yeah, she was pretty out there. pretty blatant that she wanted her student, the main character.
Oh, that's right. In fact, does she get talked to about that or something? She gets in trouble? A warning?
Mostly
like that.
from the female lead on that the robot maid.
Love it. Yeah, that show has really some staying power, it seems. It seemed to be the first of its type at that time. But yeah, it's awesome. I love playing, naughty characters. It's just such a fun way to act out alter ego, it's just great.
Yes.
I'm not afraid of adult content. I just preface it with, as long as it's consensual.
Yes.
We've had pretty hardcore stuff that isn't, yeah.
Bye.
Okay. Though we're gonna go from the naughty to the nice because there's another show that we kind of have to talk about. Another show with quite the legacy, Digimon. You playing TK? That is
my favoriteest of all the Digimons because TK's got the bestest brother, Matt, in the whole world.
The fact that you could just pull those voices out like that is incredible. Yes.
Gosh, a long time too. Yeah. A lot of Digi discussion going on. There might be part we hear.
Oh yeah, you're kidding me. I grew up with Digimon. I grew up with TK, and he was definitely one of my favorites growing up. Even before I knew who you were as a voice actor, it's like I loved that character, and I loved the way you portrayed him. So that's something that I always remember is just growing up watching that show, the relationship between them, and that was a show that very few anime, especially anime made for kids, dabbled in more serious stuff. And you played a brother who was separated from said brother as children. Like, how many people do that? How many shows did that back then?
Yeah, I mean, Japan will go there into some pretty deep stuff. I thought it was so great that he respected and idolized him in the way that he did, and that you could tell over the years it would find a healthy balance. It wouldn't just be hero worship, but the appreciation of having him meant everything to TK. And he just, examined and watched his every move. Matt was his male role model. And he really, really, adored him. So sweet. Girl power. Just darling.
What about you, Angie? You got any questions for him?
I am trying to think. I'm always blanking out.
I can easily stall.
I know. I guess as I'm looking back, and it's like, because she's been in so many things that I forgot as this, because it's like it reminded. It's like, oh, it's like, yeah, it's like you always had such. It's like the characters when you're opposite Steve Bloom. It's like, oh yes, it's like you always had such great chemistry with him. But another character that it's like I did join, and that's more in the video games, was you were in the Phoenix Wright series as Athena Sykes. So it's a little bit. It's like it was a very fun character, and it's a little bit. It's just a little bit because you're talking about the recording process with animes. Like I guess like the recording for the video games is a bit, that's obviously a little bit different sometimes.
Video games are liberating. We usually don't get as much of a visual package to work with like we have of a finished, fluid, beautiful running animated piece. So we get to invent a lot. And sometimes we hear Japanese voices as reference, and sometimes we're just creating that content fresh, full cloth. And of course, we're exploring more fantasy in general, and RPGs, of course, are the games that we get to voice, and finding out how the characters stack up and interact with each other, and what happens and what consequences there are, and the conflicts between them. And, it just can get very involved and very in-depth. And the more time you spend with a character, the closer it becomes to your heart, and the juicier the storyline usually, because you're exploring more of that character and what that character encounters.
Speaking of exploring more of a character, we've already mentioned Haruhi, but is there any other series you'd like to see? What happens after for one of your characters? What series would you like to what series we'd like to go back to.
Well, I think we covered the one we're all pining for in Bebop. We're hoping that Netflix will do the live action series well. We want to be supportive and wish them the very best. I just got a very exciting piece of news yesterday that they're expanding the cast.
Yeah, I saw that.
I'm so excited they're going to be focusing on Gren, this character that was just so bizarre, and never had I seen anything like that portrayed in animation or entertainment at all. I think maybe some film, but not too much, not much with animation. So hoping for that, but boy, why not do a whole other season or 5 of Cowboy Bebop after the live action series is so successful? It'd be just incredible. Of course, all of us in the cast are pining for cameos somewhere in this shoot. Get ourselves to New Zealand. We actually are in talks, so your support cannot hurt at all.
You got my vote.
Yes, we're hoping.
Definitely.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would love more Haruhi. I think there's a lot more you could do with her in college and stuff. And I'd love to see what happens with her as a young adult. Where will her life go? That would be so cool. There's other shows I'd love to see more of. I did this sweet little show, Tamagotchi, where it's just, Flower Island, where the kids go to pursue their dreams and the voices are squeaky and they get happier and happier. It's like, I would love to do more of that show just because it's so innocent and adorable. And going to a school to pursue your dreams, what could be a more valiant and beautiful, heart-centered task? I just love it. There's a bunch of characters, I like Vampire Hunter D. I mentioned Charlotte was just so gothically tragic and Victorian and amazing, and like, give me a fainting settee. I just love it. Anything that's high drama or high comedy, I'd love to do more of. That's the stuff that really stays with me.
Absolutely, all the good stuff there. Though doing more Cowboy Bebop would be tricky considering what happened at the end for those who have actually seen.
It was an explosion. We don't know what happened on the other end of it. We didn't get to see. And I've been in other stories where people have been downright, conked off and brought back to life. So
you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Yeah.
They did the movie after the series, so
that is true. Yeah, they could make an excuse.
But before the Bebop prequel, why not?
There you go. There you go.
Yes, more Faye backstory.
Yes, that'd be interesting.
Is probably the richest of any character I've ever played, of any kind. I mean, just that we get to go back and find out that she was from a rich family. She was a cheerleader. She was a sweet, innocent kid, and ended up so cantankerous.
Understatement.
Being in a coma for a few hundred years could probably do that to you.
Yeah.
I have thought about going back and exploring all their stories. I mean, you could do a season on each one of their backstories, and then another season on how they're all brought together. So interesting. I'm just hearing new information about Jet, and I forgot that Jet was like a specialist with the government or something.
Yeah,
military.
Something like that. Yeah, military guy.
Very interesting. Yeah, I wonder if we'll get into it with a live action series. We'll see.
That'd be interesting. Now, of course, with our fan base, there's one topic we'd have to bring up because they're already asking about it in the chat, and I know they'd kill me if I didn't bring it up, and that is Power Rangers, because you, of course, voiced Scorpina in Mighty Morphin, and of course, you would later go on to voice Alpha 6, basically giving him a more redeeming voice in Power Rangers in Space, to be completely honest.
Whatever do you mean? Aye.
Did you ever hear Alpha 6's voice before you took the role? It wasn't aye, it was yo.
Aye.
Yeah.
Morning, Rangers. The whole thing's about to go to crap. No.
Yes.
Oh, Alpha 6, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. By the way, don't be afraid to don't hold back on our part. If you need to drop an F-bomb or two, by all means, go right the hell ahead. We don't hold back around.
We won't. We don't care.
But that being said, what was it like? Yeah, what was it like doing those roles, like compared to what you do in anime and video games?
Power Rangers was a strange cookie for a while because Haim Saban of Saban Productions had the vision for this show. He had acquired stock footage of the suits and the combat, and the Japanese footage clearly was a different grade of film, we'll say. And he packaged this show 3 times. We did 3 demos for Power Rangers. They had different names at different times. Power Rangers ended up sticking, but that was over almost a 10-year period. He kept trying to package it and take this footage and add new footage and new characters and new writers. And he just knew, he truly had the vision that this would succeed. Not any of us working on it ever thought it would make it out the door, much less be sold. We did it 1 year, and I thought, I'd never voiced rubber suits before, but okay, let's do that for the monsters. And now we're voicing the cast when they're wearing the helmets. And I'd never done anything like that before. And we're using this odd live action footage, but then which is almost vintage, and then adding new footage to it with bright colors and kind of a Disney palette and very, kind of very Disney. And so live action Disney. And then we would hear nothing. And then it would be re-edited, new footage added, and we'd put a whole presentation at, like, this thing again? Okay, they're paying us to do it. Let's do it. Nothing. Few years passed. We did it again and completely reshaped the show. And it started to have a cohesiveness. And I started to see where it was going. Now, my voice actor team that was older than me from a different generation did not see it. They just thought it was crap. And I kept saying, that for an upcoming younger generation, I could see how this might work. It might take off. And lo and behold, we got our cast together, and Johnny Bosch and the rest of the gang, and we got it off the ground. And Scorpina was my first villainess on the show, and she was amazing. And she was kind of a junior Rita Repulsa, played by Barbara Goodson, who's a dear friend of mine and who just killed it as Rita. And we had a hit on our hands, and very quickly we saw the ratings just shoot up. And I was very, very happy to be able to, that was the first show I was directing in, to get the opportunity as a director and put another crack in the glass ceiling. And that was the beginning of gosh, how long has it been? 20 years? Maybe 25
Longer than that, because,
years?
that was back in 93, so.
Yeah. and it continues. It's amazing.
It is scary to see how that is, and this show is still going on. Like, there's still we're just coming to the end of the latest season right now.
Oh, well, it was sold, and then Haim acquired it again, so it's a Saban show again.
No, it's not. They resold it again. Hasbro owns it now.
They sold it again. I see how this works. Brokering and selling. Okay.
Yeah, Hasbro runs the show now, and I'm just gonna say, you didn't see the Neo Saban era, as we've dubbed it. Be thankful you didn't come back for that.
It's bound to have its highs and lows.
Yeah, that's a very good point. That's a very good point. But still,
it kind of is at the beginning of a permanent superhero culture that we've kind of all grown up with now.
Yeah. Now, so you mentioned, of course, the fact that you've also done directing and other things like that. Like, what is it like for you on the other side of that booth, directing people instead of just being the one doing the talking?
Oh, I love it. It's very natural for me. I was a stage director and choreographer, and I ended up choreographing and staging music videos for a while, where I would kind of, that's what it was, giving choreography and movement to bands in a way that it doesn't look like it's pre-planned. So working with non-trained dancers, I love dance for the people, movement for the people. And I had done quite extensive work with kids. I had a dance company, I should say troupe, called Planet Dancers. And I was working I was an artistic director at a high school for 4 years. So I was mounting huge productions and directing and staging all of that. So when I had opportunities to work with kids, directing them for ADR and voiceover, it was a very natural progression. And so from there, I knew it was something that I would be able to do well with if I was given the opportunity. And now it feels very much like I'm sharing a lot of my knowledge and legacy. And I'm at a point in my career where I really want to download that into people that are interested and that want to be coached and trained. So I often see it that way. I'm either working with people that are very, very experienced and we kind of jam and move fast and rock and laugh a lot and have a lot of off-color humor because it doesn't slow us down. And then with newer people, I'm training and coaching and helping them build confidence and teaching them the little shortcuts that we use to make audio sound good, even though you have to speed it up sometimes and stretch it out other times.
Yeah, I would say that I would love the opportunity to be a voice actor. The only problem is that even if I did have got the training that I needed, I live in Florida and I have no financial means to get out of this state. So I'm kind of, unless a new company opens up here in Florida, I'm kind of stuck.
Yeah, you'd have to go to Atlanta. Probably would be your closest option. Yeah, and there's a lot of work there, we hear.
Ah, wow. Yeah, I don't see that happening anytime soon, unfortunately. But still, it is good to see that, you know, people are carrying on the legacy, keeping things going for the next generation. And with the rise of new voice actors coming up every day, there's always new people that I'm finding favorites for. So it's good to see that it's always appreciated to see the veterans teaching the newbies how to get things done and seeing the results in newer shows.
Yeah, I think when you study with or get coached by people that have more experience, you can be given a set of tools and shortcuts that really will bring out the best performance in the new talent. So yeah, I'm into that. I'm into the people that are willing to work hard, because I definitely work people hard, and I'll own that. I do strive for almost perfection, the very best that you can deliver. Every single line that we record, we hone, we shape, we edit, we make sure it's the best take we can get within reason, because we have to get a minimum of 25 lines an hour. So we have to keep an eye on the clock and keep things moving.
Exactly. Yeah. I got to keep that time crunch. Time is money, friend. But one of our fans actually, similar to the question we asked earlier about characters seeing go in the future, our buddy Voice Versus All asks, any characters you wish had more focus so you could show off your range? Any characters that didn't get enough focus that you would have loved to done more with in a series already existing?
I felt like that with Ever After High from Mattel. I had the character Lizzie Hearts, the daughter of the Queen of Hearts. And I really would have loved to have Lizzie have a bit more of an exploration of her character. So I really loved my little Lizzie Hearts. In fact, I have props.
Time to show off.
Oh my gosh, when you have a doll made of your character, let's see, I got a lot of shine. Kind of see her. It's just so much fun, and it's something I can share with my nieces, and yeah. Anyway, she's got a really cool design, and I would have loved to see more with that whole fairy tale storyline, but I think they opted to just continue to add more characters instead of exploring a lot of the individuals. I also was the evil queen in the Ever After High series. And Boo York was quite a centerpiece for her, but she was divinely evil. Therapy, come on.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, there's been a few. I can't think of all of them right now, but there's those two came to mind right away, because I just really hoped I would get some more seasons with them. And also Kiva. I have to mention Kiva from Megas XLR. We were told at the time with Cartoon Network that mechs and bots were kind of played out. They were not in it. Yeah. And then a show pretty much replaced us right after us that had bots and mechs. But, those people went on to continue to do amazing animation at Titmouse Studios. So the love still continues. And we're very open to reviving it, but it's got a complex financial situation because it was used as rights, unfortunately. But the creators are very interested in reviving it.
Yeah, you could add our names to the list of people who want to see that show come back. Megas XLR needs a comeback, goddammit.
Come on.
Yes, it does.
Animated Jersey, come on. Chicks dig giant robots.
Damn right.
Unfortunately, some idiot put it as a tax write-off.
Right?
Yeah.
Darn it. So apparently the government owns it on that level.
That is dumb.
That is very dumb.
Also, sorry for the after my parents just got home and I was helping them.
It's cool, dude. It's cool. It's cool. It happens, man. But still, just like I said, the career you've had, all of these shows, like every one of these shows is stuff that is like have become ingrained in our culture. You know, the legacy of Cowboy Bebop, the insanity of Haruhi Suzumiya, the wholesomeness and the complexity of Digimon, the absolute insanity of Megas XLR. All of these different shows, like how many people can say that their career has that many accolades connected to it? That is something that should be proud of.
Oh, I'm so proud of it. Are you kidding? That's all blood, sweat, and hours in the studio.
Yeah, you know, and
I wanted to mention something because I've been watching The Queen's Gambit. I'm through it now. I don't know if you guys have seen it, the Netflix series. Well, it's kind of a study in chess and playing the game chess. And she's this savant player who has a tragic kind of. She's an orphan and goes through the janitor in the school, teaches her how to play, and she goes on to become a grandmaster. It's a really interesting story. And I had done March Comes In Like a Lion, which focuses on shogi, which is so much like chess. It's the Japanese counterpart, I'm sure. And it was so interesting directing 2 seasons of that and exploring a very melancholy world through Ray, who also ends up, I just realized this right now, being an orphan. What a trip. So these stories parallel. I didn't even realize it till now. And how they would get into the hyper world of being in his mind where all the sound effects are much louder and there's lots of space and you'd see the gameplay on the board. And I just thought they did the very best they could with a static medium of chess being, a 3D, but yet one-dimensional game. And in The Queen's Gambit, they found a way to go so deeply into the storyline that everybody I know who's seen it just, binged it, couldn't wait to get through it. It's really fascinating. But I don't hear much about March Comes In Like a Lion from the fans, but I just thought it was such a sweet show, and I loved my cast. And Koi Dao as Ray, the main character, was just amazing. And while Koi was working with me, he rescued a little kitty, and he ended up naming him Ray after his main character.
Aww.
And just, with the Kawamoto sisters who took care of him, I just loved my girls, Kaylee Mills and Laura Post, who were in that cast. Anyway, it just came up to me, and I wanted to mention it. So thank you.
Oh, of course, yeah, because but again, so many great shows. Like I'm actually looking and reminding myself of all the stuff you've done, and there were some shows I've seen on here that I didn't realize. I forgot that was you, like you being Kione and Tenchi Muyo.
Tenchi Muyo,
yes,
so fun, yes. And also, I was thinking I had another gal I played opposite Steve, and was it Kenshin or was it? I have to think about that. Where he plays the guy in the bandages, and she's sort of the what do you call that, pleasure woman.
That's one way to put it.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, yeah, yeah. When you really start dicking, wow, dicking. There won't be no dicking. The past president has covered that topic.
Oh, all right. Let's not get too political now. We don't need to bring that up here. Please, God, no.
Yeah, when you really get down into the credits, the older ones, there's amazing classics in there. Perfect Blue.
Oh.
Gosh, and that story was so haunting for me, playing a villain. I wanted to audition for the Mima character, the lead character, and the studio straight up would not allow me. And I thought, why don't you just let me and throw away the audition and get it over with? But no, they're like, it's our selected. This is the only role we want you to read for. So it seems like it paralleled the Selena story, but
in a way,
anime before life. It was crazy.
Yeah, that is great. And you bring up the old days, of course. The late 80s, early 90s, or we like to call it the era of the schlock anime that you dubbed. Like a ton of anime movies that I guarantee you half the people in this crowd have never even heard of.
Really? That just didn't make it, huh?
Yeah, like there's a fellow YouTuber named Bennett the Sage who reviews a lot of those kind of anime, and I know he's mentioned your name at least a few times. I don't know what he said. I don't remember exactly what he said, or if he said anything bad. Like, oh, here's a name, Crying Freeman.
Oh, Crying Freeman, right? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, I would laugh.
What? We got a crash there. Okay, let's try that again.
I was saying
whose end was on that?
One more time. One person.
All right, Mike first.
I was saying another one that you're mentioning about would be Koi Kaze.
Koi Kaze. That's a name of a show?
Yes.
There's got to be an English counterpart. I don't know it as that. That's how Bushugi Yugi is, but we knew it as Mysterious Play.
Bushugi Yugi. I was gonna wonder. I was thinking about bringing that up because that's one of my wife's favorite old school anime, and yeah, she loves that. And Yui Hongo, definitely a good character.
And but we only knew it as Mysterious Play, but fans didn't know it as that, so we had to switch. And that might be the situation with the one that you just mentioned.
Might be. Anyway,
yeah,
I'm looking on. It was a mini series. That might be why you don't remember it. It was like a quick OVA, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, there's so many of those that you did back in those days. Like, well, actually, that was like 2004. So that's actually not that old.
They don't even. I've never added any of my credits to IMDb. That's just what other people have added. So there are hundreds of credits that are not included. Most of my directing credits don't get listed, and I've never gone in and added to it. Someday I should, but yeah, busy working. I don't want to do all the additional.
You don't need to do all that. That's not your job. Anyway, Kira, what were you gonna bring up?
I was gonna bring up how you play off of more modern voice actors, like say for example your role in Violet Evergarden, I think.
Yes.
I think it was with how you play off of Cassandra Lee Morris, for example.
Oh, Cassandra, one of my dear friends. I don't think I had her voice available when I was recording my scenes. And I didn't know how beloved the series was. I was just coming in for a guest record that day. And I just fell in love with kind of the dear, old-timey, colonial look of the show. And yes, my darling, I have to let my kitty out.
Yeah, cats don't care what you're doing. When they want something, they will demand it.
Yeah.
I have a cat myself. I know all too well.
Yeah, so that show, I've heard a lot about it since. I wish that I'd had more scenes, but it did seem sweet.
Yeah, I've actually reviewed Violet Evergarden for my show, and yeah, that when every episode left me nearly in tears, that should tell you how good it was.
Oh, is that what it was? An ongoing heartbreaks of each episode?
It was basically a girl who had been raised to be a soldier, now no longer in war, so had to learn how to actually have emotions, and the every episode kind of tied into that. If you haven't seen it for yourself, I know you're a busy woman, but I still would say go on Netflix, look that up, and hear your work in action, because yeah, your character, oh god, that one got all of us.
Oh, thank you for telling me that. And thank you, Netflix, for being so supportive of anime so we don't have to buy everything we watch. So
Yes. Yeah, that's another thing that the industry has evolved immensely to the point now where you can, like, between Funimation, Crunchyroll, Netflix, Amazon Prime, High Dive, all of these other services now, we can experience these shows more easily than we ever used to. Like I grew up in the days where the only way you could watch half the anime that existed was to find fan subs and pirate it, which I don't like doing.
It was killing our industry. We had a real downturn, if you'll notice, right around that time. I mean, we started losing series one after another because our production companies couldn't afford to keep up with all the pirated material. I mean, we were begging people not to pirate material, but we understood the dilemma. So really what it was is something had to give. That paradigm was equaling disaster. And then there was also a problem, I think, from the very beginning with Hollywood understanding anime. I just think they didn't get it for so long. They didn't understand it was a fixture. This is a cultural fixture now in our country. It's not just Asian. It's, now, I mean, Michael Jackson toured with anime footage. So did Madonna. I think they used some footage from Akira illegally.
Wow.
I was paying Akira. So I was, I was blown away when somebody sent me a big video, what do they call Megatrons, whatever, footage of Michael Jackson with, I'm pretty sure he used Akira. It was wild.
Damn.
So it took, see, even other artists got it before Hollywood got it. It took Hollywood, like Men in Suits, so long to understand that we're interested in world cultures and we're fascinated with a country who, for me, raised in California, I had a sister city in Japan that we wrote from. Fourth grade studies was all about Japan. So we had pen pals in Japan, and I was always interested in Japan. And I'm a daughter of a World War II bombardier, that fought Japan. So it's like I can be an ambassador of goodwill and heal that through the arts now. We're all part of that healing. And it's a pretty righteous thing we've done. Yeah.
Yeah, damn right.
Yeah.
That has led to so much change. I think the moment it was cemented absolutely without question was when we see, of all people, Kanye West showing off Gundam. Yeah, he had this giant Gundam statue, a Zaku statue, not even an actual Gundam, a Zaku statue sitting in his living room, and it was like that point there was no denying us any further. Like this.
Oh, he's a total fan. That is so cool.
Yeah, that was when there was no doubt in anyone's mind that anime was here to stay. So,
totally. And it's affected fashion. All the hair colors that we have now. That was part of the punk movement and anime. Come on. And blue hair was singularly important to anime way before it became something in the US. It's just so great. It's all expression. It's acting out and finding yourself and expressing yourself. And we relate to that in the characters in anime.
Exactly.
I don't need to tell you guys. I need to convince you.
Yeah, I think we're all pretty much. I think we pretty much all know that pretty well over here. But it's always nice to have that reminder,
Well, it transcends ages too. It's not just kids. It's not just adults. It's 9 to 90. Everyone. It's so cool.
Yeah, well, what helps with that, I think, is also the fact that a lot of us were kids when anime started blowing up, when the first wave of anime boom started hitting, and now a lot of us have grown up, and now we get to pass that along. I mean, my kids are getting introduced to anime left and right. My daughter loves stuff like My Hero Academia, Dr. Stone, all that stuff. So now she's getting introduced, and my son, who's about 7 right now, he's not too far behind on that regard. So like that's the other thing. It's now it's so ingrained that it's becoming a generational thing now.
And how fun to share that with your kids. That's the thing I love to see at conventions is when parents come with their kids and kids are all cosplayed, and then mom's like, next year I'm going to cosplay too. I was thinking of being Bulma. I'm like, go for it.
Yes.
I always thank them because it's doing a few things. One, when I was teaching and directing a lot of theater with kids, I was really adamant about cross-generational experiences because we have so few of them in the U.S. Schools are separated and isolated by age group, grade, boys, girls, what have you. And in theater, you can have all age groups. I did a massive production of Mary Poppins years ago before there was ever a actual screenplay musical book. It was just a screenplay. And I borrowed from the book and the screenplay and created my own version of it. And it was the hardest I ever worked in my life. I had a cast of 90
Jesus.
in my cast because it was K through 12th grade, all participants across the board in the school. And I had a very focused and serious dance troupe that carried it choreographically. But what I did immediately is we had very little kids and we had seniors in high school. So what I did is I asked the upper grade kids to kind of pick a younger kid that you help and coach and kind of help them get to the next place, remind them to what their blocking is or what have you. And these beautiful bonds developed. They'd be like, hey, and they'd run and hug and they'd sit together on the stage when we'd have notes. And anime does that. It brings together different age groups. And what a cool thing to be the dad that walks in the room with your kids watching the show that you grew up on. And you could be like, oh, yeah, wait till the next scene when so-and-so comes in. Or
I've done that. I've done that.
And they'll be like, tell me, Dad. Like, nope, no spoilers,
I have so done that. I have so freaking done that.
That's brilliant. That is like big dad points for sure.
Yes. Oh man, wow, that's a mind blow right there. Just knowing that.
That's one of the ways we sold anime to some of the bigger production companies. We said that it'll have a 7-year shelf life cycle. Every 7 years, a new generation of kids will come up, and the brothers and sisters, cousins will turn the next generation up onto that material, and the material stays relevant. So invest in good production now and good voices, and then package it so it can be recycled again and again every 7 years. And that's what you guys have been doing. And that's why we're able to have so many outlets for anime now.
Yes. All right. Do you guys have any other any last questions before we wrap it up? Because I want to make sure everyone gets a chance here.
Yeah, I think I'm good.
Also, well, any stories from the booth as far as funny things from behind the scenes or anything like that you can recall?
It's funny that really that's a question that always puts us on the spot. I'm not sure I have anything per se. Let me think. I've told a few other stories, so I don't want to tell the same ones, but I think the thing that happens the most is just watching people figure out how to make noises they've never made before. And, yeah, like I had this situation where there was this little, I was done with one of the main characters and we still had like another 20 minutes left. And I said, would you like to pick up an incidental? Really help us out if you could cover a couple of the small characters. I only have 2 or 3 lines. And I said, sure. I said, okay, well, I've got this little creature. He's kind of like a snail. Let me show you. So it was kind of crawling along and I didn't tell him, but what happens is it gets squished. So like, there's no voice now, but I think we can make this cuter if we give it a little bit of voice and then a squished effort. And people are like, what do you do? And I'm like, to me, I'm such a freak. I mean, I'll just jump in. So I'm like, like that, So when people are inhibited to jump and just try something because you're in this super intimate situation, you've got one person isolated in a padded room with no windows and a microphone, and then you've got the control room. And now we're doing Zoom sessions or Skype sessions where we get the production team together. And you can see a gallery setting of all, like we are now, of several people attending. So the talent is really on the spot when you have to come up with something that you've never done before and you don't know how. So I'm always like, I'll be happy to give you a sample, something like this. But I don't want to give them line readings because I want to see what they're going to come up with. And sometimes people just floor me with these brilliant ideas they come up with. They're so freaking funny. I'm like, I want to fall out of my chair. But that was one of them, the little snail. I had one recently where, on Rent a Girlfriend. I was working with the cast on that, and there were some reactions where the guy was excited by the girl, but he was on a date with her. The typical, it could turn into a nosebleed deal.
Yeah.
Yep. Know what to do. Take a listen, and then did someone? Are we running out of time?
Your connection's been dropping every once in a while. Like it'll freeze for a second.
I'm so sorry. I was having.
That's okay. It's cool. It's cool. It hasn't ruined everything yet. So just anyway, where we left off.
So basically, I had this guy having to subdue the fact that he was becoming very turned on and excited, but he wanted to remain a gentleman. So he just busted out this. I'm fine, nothing. And I was like, you just gave me a purr. I'm like, play that back. We're keeping this.
Oh, God. Oh, wait till we get the Dad Show on the watch party, huh?
Yeah, right? That's what I'm thinking, yeah.
I put it on there, so we're going to have to eventually.
Yeah.
You'll find it. Yeah, the best stuff in the booth is the mother of invention, where people just come up with stuff that just makes you laugh so damn hard it hurts, you know.
Improv comedy seems to be the best comedy from what I've learned.
Yeah.
All right, so I think we're getting close to the end here, but one question I always like to ask to wrap things up is, of course, obviously you can't reveal everything because we know there's those NDAs, those dreaded NDAs, but what stuff can you promote going down the line? What can we expect from Wendee Lee as we head towards the future?
I have a cheat sheet. I have a few things here. So I recently just did Monster Girl Doctor, and I was the Spider Lady, the Genteel designer, Spider Lady Arania. So that's completed. I'm also now the voice of Detective Conan, and I'm doing the Conan series. I may have shrunk, but not my junk.
And Angie's smiling over there. Being the Conan fan.
I was watching. I watched it when it was Funimation. I gotta put that back. I love that show. It's like, now I'll have to pick it up again. It's like, yeah, I remember seeing something about it was gonna get dubbed. So it's like, ooh.
I did a really cool stop animation series for Netflix called Rilakama and Kaoru. And Rilakama is that very famous teddy bear style, kind of like Sanrio, but it's for the competition, San X or something. And it's with Lana Condor in the leading role. And she hadn't done a lot of dubbing, and she just does a fantastic job. And we're hearing there's going to be more in Japan, so we hope we get a sequel to that. But if you need a mellow, soothing, just slice of life kind of show, I highly recommend it. Rilakama and Kaoru is very cool. I mentioned March Comes In Like a Lion. I'm so happy with the way that show turned out. I have some pretty sizable roles on World of Warcraft and Hearthstone. I play Alexstrasza for Blizzard, and a new show that's in Portuguese that we dubbed into English called Zuzubaland. And I play a very strange green witch who is obsessed with beauty. Is my hair straight enough and stiff like straw? Is my skin green as the bottom of a river? You know, she's just this bizarre character, and that's out on YouTube. And the little spider sidekick is played by Barbara Goodson, which we were talking about earlier.
Yes.
Fire Emblem, I'm all over that. Fire Emblem, let's see, Tales, the Tales of series. We have a new one coming out very soon. Beyblade, Koji. I play the kid with the glasses and the kind of like an afro. He's like a grown-up TK. Kind of. And I forgot I was even in One Punch Man. I played Princess Super X, the Dominatrix. Ooh,
yeah. Oh, God. That blew up on the internet.
God Eater, Gundam, Devil May Cry. I play Trish. Persona. I play Fuka. And then, you know, the other one, the classics. Magic Knight Ray Earth. Outlaw Star.
Of course. All the classics, yes. still, with that being said, Wendee, it has been an absolute honor and a pleasure to speak to you. Thank you so much for coming out and joining us tonight.
Thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you for being persistent and getting me pinned down to a date. And thank you for all your patience. And thank you to all your viewers. I'm so happy to spend a little time with you. I hope that you're all finding ways to stay safe and sane. Just remember, we're all going through different levels of melancholy, like Haruhi, or like Haruhi disguises. And it's really important that you reach out to the people you trust to get through those hard times. Stay nourished, stay healthy, and stay plugged into anime.
Damn right. All right. Well, with that, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for us here tonight in the Anime Maverick. We hope you guys enjoyed. If you enjoyed tonight's show, make sure you give us a follow to keep up with all our streams and more. And if you can, subscribe to get access to our exclusive Twitch emotes, our VIP Discord channels, and our loyalty badges. And of course, if you haven't joined our Discord server, be sure to do so. And while you're at it, give us a server booster. It means better audio quality for the streams and a whole bunch of benefits for you guys. And as for everything else, all of our commands are located in the About section below. Learn them, use them, love them, and they will love you. But in the meantime, I want to thank you guys for joining us as always here on RVTV. We are your Anime Mavericks, and we will continue to bring you all the anime news, reviews, and interviews that you crave. I'm the Shades.
I'm Yummy Angie.
I'm Kira Crystal.
I'm your guest Maverick, Mikshel.
And we'll see you guys next time. Rock on! Special thanks to my patrons like Voice and a Frozen Traveler. Subscribe today to make these streams even better.